Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town. Chicago, Chicago, I will show you around. I love it, bet your bottom dollar you lose the blues in Chicago, Chicago, the town that Billy Sunday couldn't shut down. On State Street, that great street, I just want to say,
oh, Chicago. The most overrated city I can think of aside from New York. Have you smelled the wind in the Windy City lately? And right now it carries a nice whiff of burning buildings, the scent of recently fired AK-47s, and now there's a scent of a fresh mountain of bullshit coming right from Lightfield's mouth. Alright, time for a little bit of context. You see, people have been asking the mayor of Chicago to just do something about the rioters destroying businesses, destroying homes, and all kinds of other stuff that has been going on ever since the riots. Not protests, the riots have been destroying Chicago as a city. The same mayor that says, no, you can't leave the house during coronavirus pandemic to get a haircut, but goes out to get one herself anyway. Sounds like no rules for me, but rules for thee. And this is her latest moment of hypocrisy. And because she's been ignoring the people's pleas to do something about all of this, Wal-Mart is considering packing its bags and leaving Chicago. Keyword considering, so I'll touch back on that in the end. Now I'm going to start this off with a few statistics on poverty and crime. We're going to focus on poverty first. Nearly half of Chicago households struggle to afford basic necessities, report. Across the city, many households don't earn enough to cover basic essentials like housing, childcare, food, transportation, and healthcare while saving for the future, according to a study by United Way. In addition, Illinois has a higher percentage of its residents on food stamps than its neighboring states and has seen much slower decline in food stamp recipients following the recession. And why was that? Well, take a look at this. However, in 2016, Illinois was still one of the only 8 states that continued to forgo work requirements. So let's fast forward to current day here. Businesses and investors are the lifeblood of your city. If you aren't protecting them, you're not protecting your people, because people need to work, they need to generate money, and the city needs to collect taxes from these businesses also if they want to thrive. So one person actually brought this up to the mayor. And this is basically Lightfoot's reaction to the whole thing. Roll it.
We can't expect our police, and I don't fault them at all, to be able to control this. But I know that we asked our faith base yesterday to stand at the front line between police and looters and rioters. And I am simply not comfortable telling my churches, those people, to be the intermediary in the middle of a riot that's citywide. We need something better, because right now we only have 370 whatever National Guards on standby. Half our neighborhoods are already obliterated. It's too late. We have to come up with a better plan, because my fear is once they're done looting and rioting and whatever's going to happen tonight, God help us, what happens when they start going after residents? Going into the neighborhoods. Once they start trying to break down people's doors so they think they got something, or, we know that people are here to antagonize and incite, and you've got them all pumped today, they're not going to go to bed at 8 o'clock. They're going to turn their focus in the neighborhoods. I've got gangbangers with AK-47s walking around right now, just waiting to settle some scores. What are we going to do, and what do we tell our residents other than good faith people stand up? It's not going to be enough.
Thank you, Alderman. Next question.
Well, no, I want an answer. You commented on everybody. I want an answer. It's not something you ignore. This is a question that I have.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think
no offense, well, fuck you then.
Hold on.
Who are you to tell me I'm full of shit?
And if you think we were not ready and we stood by and let the neighborhood go up, there's nothing intelligent that I can say to you.
Well, maybe you should come out and see what's going on.
One of the stupidest things I have ever heard. I understand you want to preen. I understand that you think that you...
Mayor, you need to check your fucking attitude. That's what you need to do.
Every single person
Right now, no. You need to check your attitude.
Now, do you see how quickly that escalated? Now, if you're the mayor and your taxpayers are telling you to do your job and your response is to say, quote unquote, you are full of shit, then yes, you do not deserve to be mayor. And you do not have the city's best interests at heart. In fact, Chicago just had its deadliest day in a 60-year history where 85 people got shot and 24 people were killed. So, is that guy really full of shit, you say? Right. But when Wal-Mart was threatening to leave, then all of a sudden she started to turn her attitude around a bit and say, it's going to take us a Herculean effort to get our businesses back. Too late. The damage is already done. All the emotional speeches in the world isn't going to save you from this. Speaking of emotional speeches, I wanted to make fun of this one.
The decisions that I've had to make in the last 24 hours are not decisions I'd wish on any leader. None of them were easy. They were all hard. And I know that these are decisions that mayors all across the country have been making because I've been in contact with many of my peers for the last few days. And I know many people are feeling scared and unsettled. But I make no apologies that I'm always going to make the tough but necessary choice if it means protecting our people. Chicago is strong. This is our home. This is a city that we built with our blood, sweat, and tears. This is a city that we must protect so we can provide for us. We know it's not perfect, but if it gets destroyed, we are all left to pick up the pieces. In this city, we care for each other. We've seen that over and over again. This is a time for us to unite. We have to turn our pain into purpose in order to get through this moment together and do the work needed to unite our city and move us forward in a way that is more equitable, inclusive, and just. And I hope that you will join me today, all over Chicago, at 5 p.m. for a moment of silence, for a moment to reflect on what we have lost, but also to reflect on what we have gained. I know in my heart, in my soul, that we will be able to learn from this moment and move forward together. That is who we are as a city. That is the values that we share. And we must never forget our sense of who we are as Chicagoans and as a city, our sense of community. This is what will carry us through.
Now, I'm going to read this from WSJ, and it's going to illustrate exactly what Wal-Mart had to deal with to get where it is now. Quote, Wal-Mart spent years fighting local politicians to build new stores in Chicago, and it finally won approval in 2010 after paying off unions and liberal groups with a quote-unquote community benefits agreement. It now ranks among the largest employers in Chicago's heavily minority South and West sides and throws off hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue for the state and city politicians to spend. But after last week's riots, Walmart seems to be having second thoughts about business in Chicago. Article continues. Many large retailers, including Walmart, Walgreens, and Target, have had their stores heavily damaged and looted in the riots. During a conference call last week, Mayor Lori Lightfoot begged them not to bail on the city. Walmart wouldn't commit to reopening damaged stores. We are assessing each location to understand our ability to do that, a Walmart representative said. I've got a resounding mayor. This is our city. This is our home from a lot of other retailers, and I would hope that Walmart would follow suit. Ms. Lightfoot later said, politicians are worried about the harm to low-income and minority communities from lost jobs and a dearth of fresh food if Walmart closes stores. It's a much-needed resource and invaluable store for our community, Alderman Howard Brookins told Crain's Chicago. Article continues. Some Walmart stores were already struggling to make money due to the city's high taxes and onerous labor regulations. Chicago has the third highest commercial property tax among large U.S. cities after Detroit and New York City. For years, politicians have been overtaxing businesses to pay for worker pensions. Higher taxes are guaranteed since pension remains severely underfunded. The customer base may also be shrinking as non-rich flee Chicago. A University of Illinois at Chicago study has this year found out that 42,505 African Americans left Chicago between 2010 and 2016, the latest data. Under-resourced or closing schools, rising rents, violence, and few economic opportunities characterize the conditions in many majority black neighborhoods in the city's south and west sides, are contributing to the exodus of residents and families from the communities, the report noted. Chicago's population has shrunk by about 33,000 over the last 5 years, nearly 3 times more than that of Detroit. What sad irony that Chicago politicians who disdained Walmart for so long now beg the company to stay, even as bad governance and crime drive more people away. End quote. Now, let's assume that Walmart actually does leave. What do I say? Good for them. The politicians don't want you there. The people have proven they don't want you there by burning it down and looting it. So why should they stay? Now, Chicago has been shooting itself in the foot for many years. And even with the coronavirus panic shutting down all of its businesses, there's a lot of tax money that it was never able to collect. And allowing such a huge business such as Walmart to get utterly destroyed in one town, what you've ultimately done is put the bargaining chip in their hands.
If you finally learn to do what is necessary, I won't kill you. But I don't have to save you.
But unfortunately, before you get your hopes up, there's one more thing that needs to be mentioned here. And it's that Walmart has already started bending the knee regarding hair care products. There was a time where Walmart decided to put all of its beauty products behind glass doors. And that was to prevent them from being stolen. Stolen by who? Black women. And now they said they're going to stop doing that because it's racist. Ugh. So there's a possibility that losing money may not be enough for them to actually leave the city. Although I hope they ultimately do, because if things get bad enough and people feel enough pain, they'll stop electing these people. But you guys know me, I do not have faith in the average person. Either way, if you thought Chicago was bad before, well, it's going to get a whole lot worse.